Hello everyone, welcome back into another Genshin Impact video, and this is going to be my last episode on the series Lost 50/50. And yeah, it's more or less Mona we're talking about, so let's get started. Right, Mona, the character that was very used for showcases, and she's a Hydro Catalyst user. She has lots of potentials in nuke builds, because as we all know, her burst applies some interesting debuffs, let's say. Let's now talk about weapons, and first one I want to mention is the Oswald Eye. This weapon gives lots of base attack, a substat that is also more attack percentage, and also increases your energy recharge for 10 seconds whenever you use your elemental skill. Mona's elemental skill has 12 seconds of cooldown, so it's not 100% uptime, but you're gonna use this one whenever you use your burst anyway, and that's when you want this energy recharge to be active. Every 5-star weapon is fine for her, since all of them have high attack, and the passives are usually very nice. I don't think there's a bad 5-star weapon that you can use on her. Then we have the Battle Pass option, which is the Solar Pearl. This is a great weapon for Mona, since it gives her crit rate, a high amount of base attack, and the passive also increases her elemental skill and elemental burst damage whenever she uses normal attacks. Likewise, also increases her normal attacks by 40% for 6 seconds whenever she uses her elemental skill or her elemental burst. Interesting option here, the Witsit, which has crit damage instead of the crit rate from the Solar Pearl. And the passive is one of the coolest one in the game, I think. It gives you one of these 3 buffs random every 30 seconds, and whatever buff you get lasts for 10 seconds. So you can get 120% attack. This is a Refinement 5, by the way. A Refinement 1 looks like this. So you get 60% more attack, or 48% more elemental damage, or 240 elemental mastery. And again, this is a Refinement 5. Whenever one of these buffs is active, your burst is gonna deal a massive amount of damage, and every enemy in the area will disappear. This one is probably the weapon that was made for Mona herself, since it has energy recharge as a substat. The base attack is on the high side, and the passive has also a lot of potential, since every time she deals a normal attack, that decreases her stamina consumption by 60% for 5 seconds at Refinement 2. And whenever she sprints, or in this case alternate sprints, she gets 25% more attack for 5 seconds. And yes, Mona has an alternate sprint, it's not the usual one. And this is how her alternate sprint looks like. She goes under the terrain and dashes around while leaving this trail of bubbles and water, which is super cute. And yeah, she then pops out, and the iframes on these dodges are a thing that you have to get used to, because they are different than a normal dodge. And finally, we have the Favonius Codex, that similarly to the Wine and Song, also has energy recharge as a substat, but it has more energy recharge while having a lower base attack. And the passive has this chance of spawning elemental particles that regenerate 6 energy for the character. So you can swap to another character and take those energy particles, and they will get the energy instead of Mona. This will happen every 12 seconds, but this is a thing that you will use a lot in Quick Swap team, and Mona is a character that you usually want to use in those teams. And finally, we have the free-to-play options. There's not a lot to take here. You can definitely use the map Amer if you have it. This gives elemental mastery as a substat, lots of base attack, and increases your elemental damage by 8% for 10 seconds up to 2 stacks, so 16% more elemental damage whenever you trigger an elemental reaction, which is a thing that Mona does frequently. And the final weapon for this character that I suggest, the Hokushin Ring, which is a weapon that increases your energy recharge, gives you lots of base attack, and has a passive that I'm not sure if it works or not, but it will give you 10% more elemental damage whenever you trigger an electro-related elemental reaction. And yeah, I'm not sure if this works, so if you know, please let me know in the comments. But if you really want a free-to-play weapon, just stick to the map Amer. This is the best option. Alright, time to talk about artifacts. There's literally only one set you want to use on Mona, because everything else could work, but it's probably not great, because you really want to use her burst a lot, and you want to use her as a support. And the set I'm talking about is, of course, the Noblesse set. The 4-piece set gives all your party 20% more attack for 12 seconds, and also increases your elemental burst damage by 20% with the 2-piece set. If you instead want to nuke enemies and deal tons of damage to them with Mona, without increasing your party damage. I don't know why you would do that, but you can use the Emblem of Severed Fate. These will increase your energy recharge by 20% and increase your elemental burst damage by 25% of the energy recharge to a maximum of 75% more damage bonus on your elemental burst. This is completely insane if you want to build again a nuke Mona. If you want to have some fun with big numbers, yeah, this is what you should build. If you want to use Mona again as a DPS, you can use a Heart of Depth. This will increase your hydro damage by 15% with the 2-piece set and increase your normal and charge attack damage by 30% whenever you use your elemental skill for 15 seconds. And her elemental skill has a cooldown of 12 seconds, so you can have this effect always active. And yeah, deal 30% more damage with all your normal and charge attacks. Yeah, this will not affect your burst damage or your elemental skill damage, but I think it's a good trade-off. I'm actually going to talk about Constellations, which is weird, but yeah, her Constellations are actually not bad. So if you get Constellations of Mona, it's actually a very good thing, especially Constellation 1, since it basically increases your hydro-related elemental reactions. That means more damage or more duration whenever your party members attack an enemy affected by Omen, which is her elemental burst. So yeah, this is a very good Constellations. And every other Constellation will just increase your performances. Very, very good Constellations overall. Let's now talk about talents. And first of all, her normal attacks. This has a 4-hit combo. And this kind of attacks will auto-aim onto enemies. So you're always dealing damage to enemies even if they are in the air or far away. And then we have her charge attacks, which are really, really pretty. Yeah, this kind of astral symbols, they are very, very cool. As with all the other Catalyst users, they use tons of stamina, so not really worth it. Unless you have Constellation 2, which allows you to get basically a free charge attack whenever you normal attack enemies, and will change your playstyle if you're using DPS Mona. Alright, moving on to her elemental skill. It's a decoy that you put on the ground. You can either put it in front of you or near any enemy if you tap the skill, or you can hold the elemental skill button and dash backward while leaving your decoy in front of yourself. The duration of the decoy is only 4 seconds, but that's enough to deal with any enemy and to distract them for enough to actually get out of the way, and also maybe freeze them or anything else. It applies tons of hydro. And finally we have her elemental burst, which is a very unique elemental burst actually. And this will summon this bubble that lasts 8 seconds, and this bubble will apply an Omen debuff on the enemies that lasts 5 seconds. That increases the damage they take by 56%. It also deals a considerable amount of damage, and the cooldown is also on the low side, it's only 15 seconds, and the energy cost is somewhat fair, only 60. And how this bubble works is actually very interesting. You will use your burst, and you will freeze the enemies in air in this state. Whenever they take any kind of damage, they will explode and take the full damage of the bubble. Yeah, as you can see, the damage is considerable. I'm not using anything that was 34,000 damage on some enemies. Yes, this is not even a DPS build, so you can deal tons and tons more damage. And yeah, that's why Mona is very powerful. You can CC enemies by lifting them up in the air. You deal a lot of damage, and you can also debuff the enemies, so if you wanna do some fun nuke builds, you can also do that. Let's now talk about those passive talents. We have Come and Get Me Hag, which will summon one of those mirror reflections that only lasts 2 seconds and deals 50% of the elemental skill damage, so that means it deals half of this amount at level 6. And the way you activate this passive talent is basically you sprint, you use your alternate sprint. You will start summoning these little decoys that last 2 seconds and have a cooldown of 2 seconds, so you can just spam them around if you're still in your sprint animation. They will deal some damage to the enemies. It's 50% of the original damage, so nothing crazy. Her second passive talent is one that I think is very powerful, gives her hydro damage bonus based on 20% of her energy recharge. So that means that you really want to invest in some energy recharge on her, because for example with my 213.6% energy recharge right here, I get around 40% hydro damage. That means, yeah, my hydro damage is very high. And finally, her signature passive talent gives her 25% chance to refund a portion of the crafting materials used whenever you craft any weapon ascension materials. That means that, for example, if I'm using any of these materials and I wanna get the higher rarity ones, she has a 25% chance to refund me a portion of the materials I use. That actually helps a lot, because it's basically free materials you get by just crafting. Alright, showcase time. Give me the energy, give me the energy.
Thank you.
Been trying to change what I've been trying to.
Yep, there's the fun damage of Mona's buffs. Yeah, there's something very interesting. And that was Mona. This concludes our series on Lost 50/50s. I hope you enjoyed the video and the character, because yeah, Mona is probably the best character you can get. Very, very fun, allows lots and lots of team compositions. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.
We froze, cold night in the winter, how cold. Sorry that I fall away sometimes. Sorry that I fall away sometimes. Yeah, yeah. The end, got to end it all on the weekend. Sorry that I feel that way sometimes. Sorry that I feel that way sometimes. Oh.